happened to me in Chicago. The guy pushed the bill towards me.
What?
And I paid. And then afterward on the street, he tried to kiss me. And I'm like,
Ew!
you.
Got the
No!
balls, though. Let me tell
Like,
you.
no.
Hey there. Welcome to the Gluten-Free Organic Thoughts podcast, where you are encouraged to express your natural thoughts and views through casual, meaningful conversations that hopefully can lead to learning and understanding new perspectives. To find out more info, visit www.gfothoughts.com. Now, here are your hosts, Michael Wong and Robert Din. We hope you enjoy this episode.
Hey guys, welcome to Gluten-Free Organic Thoughts. Today we have a special episode of a group of amazing women who are coming in to discuss the definition of attractiveness. We're going to split this podcast into two parts. This episode you're seeing is going to be part one.
And please don't forget to like this video, leave some comment, and smash that subscribe button, please. All right, enjoy this episode.
Like button.
See you.
Hello, everybody. Welcome back to another episode of Gluten-Free Organic Thought podcast. And for the first time listener, my name is Michael Wong, and I'm one of the co-hosts for this podcast. So before we get started, please subscribe to our channel, to our YouTube channel, or to our podcast right now to get the most latest update information and to get the latest notification for our podcast every Sunday morning. So for today's episode, we have something very special for our audience. And we have a group of amazing young ladies right with us, as you can see, if you're watching us on YouTube. And we're going to talk about the definition of attractiveness and how it has changed over time. And obviously with me, Robert, co-hosting.
Hey guys, how's it going? It's Robert. Yeah, I'm happy to have everyone on. We're going to figure out how to get me and Mike a girlfriend. I think that's where this all started.
That's not true at all.
No, it's actually not true. But yeah, like what we're gonna do first is we're gonna start with as normal what we're drinking. We're gonna go around and maybe everyone say their name, what they're drinking, where they're at, and like relationship status or whatever else you want.
And who you know first, okay? Me or Robert.
Oh yeah, and who you know first.
And how you met. Let's skip this briefly, but I'm curious to see actually if anybody remembers that. So.
All right, so I'm drinking sparkling wine today. I was drinking sparkling rosé, but it went bad for some reason. So yeah. So now I opened up a new bottle.
There we go.
Nice.
We're gonna start with Porsha.
Hey, I'm Porsha. I'm drinking water. Getting turned over here with the agua. Do Din first, I think. I call them by their last name just because my husband is like friends, like besties with them, and has called them by their last name. So
This is Sean's wife. This is Sean's wife from the first episode we ever did.
Yep.
Yeah. And I think I knew Den first, and then Wong. I think that's how.
I think so
guys
too.
probably remember.
So,
is that all for the intros? I think that was all right.
Wait, what do you mean?
Where are you at?
Yeah, where are you at?
San Francisco, California, Cali, baby, but originally from the East Coast, so don't get it twisted. I'm in California.
All right, so let's, Maria, you want to go next?
Sure. So, hi, everyone. I am drinking a matcha latte. I actually
latte.
Nice.
got this started thanks to Mike because I really didn't like matcha, but now I've discovered that I do. So I know everyone actually through Mike. I met him at UF many, many years ago. I can't remember exactly through which group because I met him through like 5 different people in 5 different settings. And then I met Robert after we actually went skiing earlier this year. And I live in LA. I'm from Colombia, but from the East Coast, from Miami originally. I've been here for about 2 years now. So yeah, I'm excited to be here.
There you go.
And relationship status?
Yes.
Oh, single, but I guess currently dating someone. We'll see how it goes. It's still early on, so.
It's LA dating. It doesn't count, okay? You know that.
Yeah.
All right, so Karen, you want to go?
Yeah, sure. Okay, so I'm drinking a dessert wine. I don't really know what it is.
Is this the same dessert wine as last time?
No, this is different. That one was a port. This is an actual dessert wine.
Nice.
Okay.
Yeah. I'm in Georgia right now. I live in Chicago, but there's not much to do in Chicago right now, so I've been hanging out in Georgia. Um, um, I'm engaged, and I met Rob at my first day of my real job outside of college, and then Rob introduced me to Mike when we all went to lunch together at Pollo Tropical.
Yep. I'm glad you remember the exact spot too, by the way. So, points for that. All right. So, Alissa, you want to go next?
Hi, everyone. I am drinking water, actually, and I am based in San Francisco. Relationship status is married. I only knew Rob, and then through Rob, I met Porsha, and then I met the rest of the group today. So
there we go.
Yeah.
All right.
All right. Is anyone gonna go next?
Sure. So I'm drinking a Monster, nothing super crazy. And I met Michael Wong in college at UF through my friend Kenya. And I believe I met Robert Din in Vegas through Karen. We were going on a trip together.
Yeah, that's right.
I remember that.
It was like, hey, friend, staying with you.
Pretty much that's how it happened.
Yeah,
And
we took care of Rob. He got sick. We brought him soup.
That's right. Yeah, I got sick.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
And my relationship status, I have a boyfriend.
There you go. All right.
Oh, and I'm in Chicago.
I was gonna say, where you are? There we go.
Yeah.
Wait, is Chicago open already or not yet?
Not really. Some things have been opening slowly, so it's, yeah.
All right, Michelle, you want to go next?
Sure. Hi, I'm Michelle. I'm currently in Miami, Florida. I'm currently drinking one of my favorite little juice drinks. It's actually like half pom, half water. I'm like obsessed with pomegranate juice lately.
Nice. Really good.
Yeah. I met Wong through a mutual friend, Andres Puerta. He was having a big birthday party and Wong was being a little difficult. So I gave him shit the first day I met him, and it's been a fantastic friendship ever since. And I met Rob last week when I did my first podcast with you guys. So, and my current relationship status is freshly single. So
there we go. We're gonna give Michelle your boyfriend. Don't worry. We get all. By the way, we have 70% male listener, Michelle. That's FYI.
Yeah, there you go.
All right, I'm single. So Miami, Florida. Come through.
A lot of them actually listen from Florida, so there we go.
I'm open.
All right, so
there's a chance.
There's a chance. There we go.
Yeah.
All right, so I'm drinking mate. I've been drinking yerba mate for the past, 7 months again. I go in and out with that. I don't know. I like it just because on weekends I try to minimize the caffeine intake. But yeah, this is my fourth cup though. But
Wow.
yeah.
Fourth cup today.
That's a lot.
Mate?
Yeah.
It is 2. Oh, it's 5 o'clock there.
Yeah, 5 o'clock here. So
Okay. I was like, it is 2 o'clock, and you had 4 cups of coffee.
Yeah.
All
right. So we're gonna get the conversation started. So what do you guys define as attractiveness? So we can start discussing that a little bit more of what do you think about today from more of an intellectual, physical, and emotional level. So for example, I'll give my definition as a guy perspective. Robert will give his perspective, and then we'll go around Robin. So we'll start with Porsha.
Yeah, I think guys and girls have very different opinions of what attractiveness, what girls think are attractive, right? So it'd be interesting.
Let's hear it.
Well, not only that, though, I think just I think depending on what, I guess, where you are in your relationship, also where you are personally and at the age range, to be honest, that matters a lot too. So, all right. So for me, okay, my definition of attractiveness in terms of, I kind of rate intellectual level a little bit higher than I rate physically, but for me, it's intellectual and emotionally. So let's say that if I were to rate a 1 through 5 scale, and 5 being like really the highest, I'd say probably intellectually, emotionally for me is like a 4 on both sides, and then physically is like and so And what I think of attractiveness is in terms of just how of a personality, the way it clicks from a conversation starter, or not even that, just how it carries itself in the conversation in terms of you have chit chat all day long, right? But if you're chit chatting all day long in terms of kind of like, in terms of not having any kind of sense of direction, in a sense, it doesn't mean that, is for me, at least that perspective, that perspective is kind of, driving anywhere. So from a emotional level, I do kind of look for, in a sense that, okay, are they aware of their own emotions? That's one thing that I think that for me, I consider as emotional attractiveness, because if they're aware of their emotions, that means that they're at least, they have that intellectual level that, okay, they're at least, they're aware of it. They can see how they can control or try to at least understand it and kind of tell you, communicate with you in that. So for me, I think that impacts communication a lot. And the physical level, I feel like if I had those two physical level come automatically, naturally, I mean, in terms of what it look physical level, I think, to be honest, features for me is eyes first. It's always eyes. I don't know why. So
I love eyes. Like eyes is very important. So are we going after what we think are attractive in women, or what we think women are attracted in men?
No, let's go with what we think we're attracted to, and then we can go around that in terms of that reverse role piece of it, though. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. So for me, it's very, very similar, I guess. I don't know if I have a rating for emotional, but yeah, I think intellectual is very important. Like the give and flow of a conversation is very high. Like if we have a good rapport, if we can bounce off each other and like be like, I think like being funny is very important too. Like being able to like have the similar type of jokes and be able to like riff off each other, I think is very important. And physically, I think it really depends. I really been all over the board on physical attractiveness. So here. It's just
same here.
It's not really, I would say it's important, but it's not like, I mean, it's all over the board. So I don't have like a standard definition of what I find physically attractive. Yeah, I think that's it. Like, I think mostly is that rapport between like me and the girl would have to be like very positive in general.
So before we jump into the ladies, what would you like to hear a guy, I guess, talk about in terms of attractiveness? Like, I'm just wondering, like, you guys have anything that you guys want to add on to like any question maybe for me and Robert before we jump into your version of attractiveness?
Mm-hmm.
I feel like we should leave that to the single girls. Like, what do y'all look for?
Yeah, there you go.
The married women are tapping out.
Like,
I think I want to hear a guy talk a little more about like emotions, like you said, Wong, like being open to sharing emotions and communicating well. Like that's really important for me. But I think like there has to be a physical attraction too. Like that's like a non-negotiable for anybody, right? Like,
I agree.
You have to be attracted to your partner.
Yeah, I agree.
So.
Yeah.
It's interesting you all said that last. Like, I was really surprised that you guys were like, that's the bottom of the list.
Really?
I don't think in reality that's really the bottom of the list.
It also might be like who you're talking to, right? Like I haven't had a girlfriend in forever. Like it's been a long time. So it's just like not top of mind. I think it's just not like on top of my list.
But like, Tinder and stuff, like the first thing
I know where Porsha's coming from though.
Like,
I know what Porsha's saying because usually guys tend to go for physical first and then approach the girl. I didn't get that point.
Right. And then you get to know somebody and then everything else kind of balance out.
So there is the initial reaction of physical attractiveness, like Michelle said, because I think that does matter for sure.
Sure.
Yeah. So, okay, how about this, Porsha? What made you attracted to Sean and marry him? Let's start with you.
First off, he was fine as hell. So, number one, girl. I didn't know anything about his personality. I just, like, saw him from across the room. I mean, my husband is 6 foot, fine, black man. I mean, chocolate, everything. Definitely. Not saying I have preference, but, like, that's what I saw first.
Yeah.
So, and then I got to know him. And he's like a great person. You know?
Okay, that was just a bonus on top of the.
Yes.
That was a bonus.
you know, then he had other stuff like good credit, like a great job, you know, all that stuff like came
He is
through
grown. He is grown.
Okay, so
that's the thing too. I just want to point out, I think that more mature men, when they talk about attractiveness, they talk more about like intellectual and emotional compatibility first before discussing the physical. Like when I was younger, I feel like guys were all about like catching that fine girl, and like all my guy friends were all about the hot girl in the room. But now that I've gotten older, I hear more of my guy friends, or, you know, some of my guy friends, because y'all aren't quite there yet, but I hear more of my guy friends talking about like the deeper aspects to a relationship.
Right.
So Porsha, before we jump off to that, so now when you met Sean, right? When you found him attractive, I guess, in a sense that how did he personality play a role in terms of for your intellectual? Because obviously you're a smart woman, you're a mature woman, and I think you're a bit older than Sean, if I remember correctly. And
yeah,
so,
I'm 4 years older than Sean.
Yeah, so I think, you know, kind of like trying to understand that a little aspect of that view. I mean, has that changed since you married him? I'm just wondering.
I mean, Sean's pretty consistent, but like I remember in my 20s, like, are we allowed to cuss on this show?
Yes, please.
Okay. I remember in my 20s, like when I was dating, there was just like a lot of fuck boys, like, you know, like, and they probably are still very prevalent now. But like you don't, and should I define what a fuck boy is? I'm sure he knows like what that guy is. Like he's just like really conceited and like shady and, you know, kind of like narcissistic, you know, so you kind of run into a lot of that in like your early 20s, I think. Like, you know, guys just don't really know what they want and they're kind of like dating whatever. But I feel like Sean was just like really genuine. He was just like a really good person, you know. And I see.
Did we lose Porsha? She froze a little bit. Or just
he's still like that now. Like that's just his personality.
Oh.
Yeah, and I think he's still like that. And that's what really got me. You know, one, yes, he was attractive, but when I talked to him, I was like, wow, great. I keep saying that.
All right, Porsha, you froze a little bit. Can you repeat the last part again one more time for people?
Oh, is my internet?
No,
hello?
There you go. We can see it.
Yeah, I was saying that he was a really great guy. So still freezing.
Yeah, a little bit.
A little bit. But it's fine.
It's fine.
Yeah.
So Alissa, okay, you're the other person that we know that's married right now. So when you met your husband, I guess in terms of attractiveness, obviously, you. In terms of like, I guess, where do you think, you know, kind of drew to you, and has that changed over time when you married?
Yeah, it definitely has changed. I still love my husband, but he has put on X number of pounds since I met him 7 years ago.
Whoa!
But I still love him very much. So I think that just goes to show, like, the first thing is definitely the visual attractiveness. Like I met him at a club, so like across like the bar, I was like, oh, that guy over there, he's my type. So, you know, we got to talk and whatnot. But I think later on, what's really attracted me was that we share some common interests. Like he's a very interesting person. The conversation can go on. I think to me that was very important. Like it was the first night we met, and we ended up like sitting at McDonald's in Chicago. Chicago people, you should know which one I'm talking about. When in downtown, next to the Rock and Roll. So we actually sat there and talked till like when it was pretty bright outside. It was like 3, 4, 5 a.m. in the morning, I think. Yeah. So there was a very good conversation going on. And I think a lot of things that really got me attracted to him is the kindness, actually. I hear that.
Really? The kindness?
Yeah. It was just one, like when we were outside and I saw that he helped some disabled person in family carry the what do you call it? The push cart, whatever. Like he was helping a disabled person on the street. It was like, that was our second day, I think. It was like, oh, that's really sweet of him. Like we were just walking and he just helped a random person on the side.
So you noticed that little detail.
Yeah. So I think it's like the look, obviously, and then the interesting side of him, and then the last thing is the kindness.
Gotcha. And you said that changed a little bit now, obviously. So I guess, I mean, obviously you love it in a sense. Even though physically you said that, you know, he changed a little bit, which is fine. But I think ultimately though, like, but personality though, obviously that has probably gotten better, right? Has probably gotten more mature, I guess. Like in terms of, I guess now, if you were, I guess more of a question in terms of like, if you were to give a younger yourself, your younger self advice, right? What would it be something different, or would you just say, hey, it's good?
Yeah. Also, like you're saying, like when you met your husbands and your boyfriends, but like before that, did you have a different set of ideas of what you wanted in a guy before that? And how did that change over time?
Yeah.
I kind of say I'm pretty shallow. It's always the look. Like that's why I have the same idea as Porsha. It's like, why did you guys talk about physical appearance last? I'm like, that's definitely the first thing that would caught my eye. But yeah, I think overall it hasn't changed much.
Gotcha.
Okay.
All right. So, Maria, you want to go next?
Sure. So, I don't know. I mean, I think definitely physical is always first. I mean, it's just the first thing that you notice in somebody, whether, how they look and you just how attracted you are to them. But I think once you really start getting to know somebody and you really see their personality, see how they interact with others, like really see the intricacies of their personality, if they're kind, if they're narcissistic, like if they're selfish, those things really come out to play. And if they have those really like bad, nasty qualities, it can be, Brad Pitt in the room. And I wouldn't even want to talk to them because like that would make them so unattractive to me. And I feel like, just being a woman, learning how to date. And, I think we've all kind of had to deal with some fuckboys, like Porsha said, and some just really unfortunate experiences. And, when I was younger, I probably had a different set of criteria. And I think now as I get older, I've realized like, I think you need to give somebody a chance. You really need to be patient with somebody, to have their personality come out and just see if you really are a good match. But I've also learned that I think the older that I get, the more that I need to see and set boundaries for myself, for the relationship, which I necessarily didn't always do in the past. And that kind of like led me to not good places with relationships. And, I think also having similar values, like I think, yeah, you can be funny and you can, laugh, but I think having somebody that's like your friend and, on top of it, that they're attractive or you're physically attracted, but you are also mentally aware of like how, like what they're bringing to you and on an emotional level, on a spiritual level, on like everything, that just to me, I think kind of really completes the package.
I think you did bring up a good point up, because value does align with attractiveness to a certain degree, because let's say that you align your top three values, at least two out of the three matches. I feel like that clicks a lot much better. And obviously that drives that emotional level, that drives the intellectual level.
Correct. So. And I think, I think in the past I maybe was attracted to people that did not have my same values. And you realize it doesn't work. You kind of try to make something work that doesn't happen, even though you may be physically attracted to them, or you may be like, I love when guys are very confident and like are very driven and very successful. And like that to me, it like oozes attractiveness. But if the values are also not there, I just think like it wouldn't be a match. I just also have to think about, now I'm thinking more about that as I get older, like what would be a good match for me? Like, yeah, there's certain things that are good, but I, like you said, like the intellectual aspect, the emotional aspect, the values of somebody really have a lot more to do with it. And that's probably what's more important to me now. If you asked me when I was 20, I would have probably given you a different answer.
And you're in a relationship now, right? Like, are one of the married ones, or you're in a relationship?
No, so I just started dating somebody and it's been a month. So it's still brand new. I mean, it took me a while. I think Mike knows the story. I got out of a really bad relationship last year, and it took me a very long time to even be able to be okay with dating. And then I've been dating these last couple of months, have had a few really bad experiences. But so far
dating during COVID, that's gotta be crazy.
And on top of that, in LA, by the way.
And in LA. At least in LA, there are more options. You know, I think Miami, love Miami, but it was also very limited.
It's a struggle out here, girl.
It is a
Trust
struggle. I
me.
mean, that's one of the reasons why I wanted to move. So I feel your pain.
Okay, so Yesenia, you want to give your definition? How's that changed over time? And what you current, obviously right now you're in a relationship, so.
Yeah, so attractiveness for me, I would say like a lot of the other girls have already mentioned, it's that initial physical appearance to kind of like gauge your interest a little bit. And then once you like meet the person, you get a gist for their personality, what similarities and differences you have. And then that kind of peaks it up from there. And I think over time, like you start to get to know each other at a more emotional level, and like other, parts of that person become more attractive. And I would say like what I was attracted to when I was younger, like in my 20s as to now, is I think actually really different. I think when I was younger, I didn't know what I was attracted to. And it was really whenever guys approached me and wanted to go out with me, I was like, cool, all right, sure. And then as I got to know them over time, I was like, oh, I don't really like you. Or I started figuring out in that time frame what I liked and what I didn't like. So I feel like now I'm in my, I'm 33 now. So me going into any kind of relationship now, I have a good idea, like from a first, second, or third date, like what I'm into, what I like, what I don't like.
And what you expect as well, though. So
and what I expect, yeah. Yeah, it's a good point. Yeah. And in my 20s, I had no idea. I'm dating all these guys that, like you guys were talking about values, like totally on a different spectrum when it comes to values. Like it's a total mismatch from anyone that would see it from the outside. But, I just didn't know any better. So yeah.
So I think that's comes with experience, I believe, not just you. I mean, same thing for me. I remember when I told myself during the undergrad, I told myself not to get into a relationship, just date as many girls as possible, just to meet people, just to understand what I like and didn't like. That was my goal. I'm not even kidding. And in my mind,
Mike, I did not even know this about you in college.
I was like, you know what? I'm gonna meet as many people as possible, put myself in every single situation to do that. And that's also why I got that dorm job. Actually, that's how I met you, Yesenia, by the way, at the dorm job now.
Yeah.
The desk job. That's right. I remember now. So, and I told myself, you know what? I'm gonna put in a situation where I can meet as many people as possible, so that way I can figure out what I like and don't like. And I think that's a progress. It's not a 1 year, 2 year, 5 year, and I think that changes over time. So, and you're right. Yeah. Like, I mean, values. I guess for me, it came a little bit later as well in terms of like what I really wanted in a person, and then kind of after meeting different people, you kind of navigate around it, like you said. So
I agree. Just like talking to people, you understand like some people just don't have the same understanding of as you do on certain things, and don't value the same things. So yeah, I think that's very important.
And I want to make a statement correction. I do value physicals, but the reason why I gave it a 3 in the beginning is obviously that initial physical is like the hook, right? You think about it, that's the hook. But then if I have a conversation with you that doesn't click with me internationally, that physical just doesn't matter. It literally just is not really in my
It falls off very quickly.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's for sure. So Karen, you want to go next?
Sure, yeah. I like bad boys.
Bad boy.
But that's kind of my problem, or was my problem, because Carlos, he's kind of a bad boy. He likes to do whatever he wants, but he's really nice to me and treats me like a queen. But when I met him, I think I was just done with guys because I was dating too many bad guys, right? Like, they're just too rebellious, didn't care, whatever, and I was just done. And then he wanted to date me, but I was very, I just wanted to be friends. And he worked really, really hard to be my boyfriend.
So wait, then in terms of being attractive, obviously the physical level is there, right? But in terms of like, did that intellectual level came into part into a role to kind of persuade you a little bit more? That emotion, or like, how did he eventually like you know, you get started dating?
Yeah, how'd he turn that no into a yes?
Yeah.
Actually, I think it was more of like the conversations we had and just how he treated me. Yeah, I lived with Yesenia for a little while. And we always talked about our experiences, and she's like, "You're the prize. The guy needs to treat you like you're the prize." And I remember I didn't make the guys treat me like a queen before, but then, you know, he just kept working on it, and I don't know, he just won me over. One of our first dates, he brought like, we were supposed to do fondue, and he brought over chocolate covered peanuts, and he thought that it was melting chocolate. And it was the cutest thing. And he's like, "Oh, but it's perfect. And then we'll just have a nice peanut flavor to the fondue, and it'll work out perfectly." And when it, you know, those kind of comments just kind of won me over. Like, okay, so he can take like a little mistake and he can make it into like something wonderful, you know?
So wait, you actually pay attention to that? Really?
Yeah, I pay attention to all those things.
Nice.
Yeah.
I mean, so now obviously he kept working at it, right? In terms of like now, obviously you guys are engaged. Has that level of attractiveness changed over time?
Yeah, I'm more attracted to him now, just because. Well, so we're actually going through the visa process now, and we've done long distance, and
he's still in Colombia, right?
Yeah, he's in Colombia right now.
Colombian men are sweet talkers. I know.
Yeah. But anyway, so he's just we're just there for each other. And you know, if something's wrong and like I have like an issue or whatever, or he has an issue, like we just communicate and work it out together. And I think that just increases my attractiveness to him, like, and his attractiveness to me, because like we look at it kind of like in the long term, like, you know, how do we make things work, right?
Mm-hmm. It's definitely a team effort. That's what it sounds like. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm glad to hear that. So I guess obviously it sounds like obviously the chemistry has built over time a little bit, which is good too, especially long distance though. So, but yeah. So Michelle, just going back to you, Miami boys. Okay. So now, obviously, in terms of, I know we talked about this a little bit offline, but in terms of, you know, attractiveness, how's that changed over you over time? And then obviously, like, it's kind of, I mean, do you think location matters that much though? Like where you are? I feel like sometimes it does and it doesn't. So.
Well, the last two relationships that I've been in, I've met the guys not in Miami. And we've done long distance, and then they both moved to Miami. So I have a really hard time meeting like a serious guy down here. Like a lot of the guys that I encounter are like we said, like fuck boys. Like I don't know what it is about Miami that like draws all the partiers, the fuck boys. Like I also like I've evolved like as a person. Like I don't drink anymore. Like I don't hit the party scene really anymore. Like I'll go out and like grab a drink if somebody wants to, but like I don't get crazy on the weekends. Like it's just.
So has your value changed a little bit too as you get older?
Yeah, definitely. Like I also have noticed like a big thing for me, like I think the reason why what I look for in a partner changes is because I learn more about myself, right? Like I'm learning more about like who I am and like what I really want. And like one thing that I know about me is like I'm very much like a social activist. Like one of my previous relationships, like I was like right after Trump got elected, and like I brought my partner to the Women's March on Washington, and like he was not feeling it. And I was out there like, let's go. Like, so that was like kind of one of the defining moments for me. I was like, I don't really know if we're going to be compatible. Like I really care about like social justice. And yeah, I just like outside of like values, like one thing that I've learned is I really need somebody who can communicate with me and like share openly like how they're feeling and like be willing to compromise on things. Like it's not all rainbows and butterflies. Like, you know, sometimes you know, when I go through like a breakup, I'll start watching chick flicks and then I get annoyed because I'm like, it's so not like this. Like,
Yeah.
bugs, like, you know, like I get annoyed, but like, you know, I like it's a struggle. Like being in a relationship is it can be difficult, but the good parts need to outweigh the bad.
So,
And
okay,
so
but in terms of like, okay, so obviously you weigh the intellectual part a little bit more. That's what it sounds like. And I think we can all agree that the physical level initially is a little bit important to make sure that, you know, at least you have that chemistry in the beginning, right? And then it sounds like, I mean, from the common theme that I keep hearing is that intellectual, the emotional level plays a role, and then adding on to that, making sure the value, at least your main value align with each other. And now over time, the thing is that, I mean, this is more a question maybe for people who are married. Like, how do you guys maintain that attractiveness, and or even the person who is engaged? Like, it's kind of I feel like sometimes that, you know, once you're married, guys tend to slack up a little bit. To be honest, I'm not gonna lie. Or for what I've seen,
when you're just not even like married, like even when you just get into a relationship,
you know,
it's just kind of just
yeah. So I think that's they get comfortable. That's a question that I really want to curious for those who are in a relationship. And then the second back into this question is that, you know, I guess for me, in terms of, I understand that communication is important. Guys cannot communicate in general. I'm just,
it doesn't happen.
Being Asian, we don't talk about emotions at all. Okay. By the way,
that's why emotional was like so low on mine. Like I think that was the lowest one of mine.
Okay.
It's like emotional. Like what does that even mean?
Okay. So I mean, Porsha, I started with you. You know, knowing Sean, I don't think he's that emotional though. How do you get him to open up? How do you get him to communicate? I mean, he's a good communicator. That's for sure. I can tell.
He's like a good guy. I mean, I think there's a difference. Like when you're married, like it's a whole another ball game. And then when you throw in kids in there, if anybody has kids, like you're in a different world as far as like relationship goes. So I think when you're talking about like attractiveness, what initially attracts you to somebody is different from like what keeps you guys together. Like you kind of go back to that day like you met and you're like in love, but then you have to do more to like keep it spicy, you know, keep the relationship fresh, you know, do some stuff, have some dates, you know, get a little kinky, whatever it is you need to do to like keep it.
Gotcha.
But like we have a kid, so I feel like it's a whole. Once we had a kid, that really shook things up. I think we had a really strong relationship before, but when you throw in like a baby, you throw in another human being.
Yeah. Well, I feel like your chemistry, you guys are really well with the kid as well, though. It kind of, I feel like that relationship between you two grown just watching us as an outsider.
Yeah. You have to have like a strong relationship to begin with. Like communication is key, is so key. Like you guys have to be like here, communicate. Like if you can't communicate about small stuff, you're not gonna be able to communicate about big stuff. Like me and him are like in sync, and it's like to the point where like every day we're like, how are you feeling? How are you doing? You know, are you in a bad mood today? Do you need a glass of water? Anything I can do for you? You know, you gotta always be in sync. Like that has to be like your homie in crime.
Because imagine, I remember, and probably, you know, when Max was growing like 6 months, you probably barely get some sleep, right? How did you guys? I mean, without sleep,
how do you deal with someone else like when you don't have sleep for like 6 months?
Yeah, you feel that person in there.
You know?
I mean, that's when the communication comes in because you're tired, he's tired, and you have to like look at each other and have a moment and say, "All right, we in this together. Like it's me and you. It's me and you against this baby, against this like little human being. So what are we gonna do?" And like we did shifts. Like a lot of it was like, I'm gonna cover you for like 4 hours, you cover me for 4 hours. Like we're a team. Like you really have to go into it like you're a team. And like I don't know if anyone watches like Michelle Obama's podcast, but she was like, when you pick a partner, like someone you want to be with, you pick like a real like top player. Like you want that starting 5 player. Like you don't want somebody to just be like, I only dribble or I only shoot. You want somebody who can like shoot, dribble, run, like they understand the playbook, you know, they can like back you up if you need to take a pee break. Like you really want like a team player. Yeah. And that's what you look for when you have like a partner in crime. Like you want somebody to have your back. Like when shit gets tough, you need them to like tap in for you, you know?
Yeah.
I'm sure I echo it or something. With my sound.
I think there could be an echo a little bit though too. I'm not sure.
Yeah, there's a little echo from somebody.
Yeah. I'm sorry. Yeah. All right. So Alissa, you feel the same way, I'm guessing. I mean, it sounds like I see your head going like this a lot. So.
I was just nodding the entire time Porsha was talking.
Yeah.
We just had a baby. My daughter is 5 months old. So we just been through the, changing from, just the two of us. And then now it's a family of 3. So there's and Michelle was mentioning that compromise. Like I nodded at that too. Like I feel that as the relationship goes on, compromises, communications, and tolerance for each other, like knowing your partner at their best, knowing them at their worst, and be able to tolerate that, to deal with that, to even embrace that. I think that's kind of what keeps things going.
You brought point up that part, the tolerance piece, because I feel like no matter what, listen, no one's perfect. Everyone's gonna have baggages. That's just life, and that's a human being. If you're perfect as a human, you're not human. That's in general, right?
Yeah.
And so going back to that, so I guess during the relationship time when you guys were dating, did you guys push the limit each other to make sure, hey, I can tolerate you at your worst? Okay, that means you're good. Is that what you guys trying to say? Like, because sometimes it's kind of hard to go through the worst part situation of your life. You know what I mean? Like, I remember when I was in a relationship, the girl I was dating, she was going through a really bad time in her life, like really, really bad time, and I feel like that kind of changed the perspective of the way I view things in a way. And obviously, I mean, she got over things like that. It's just that, but for me, that scared me out of that relationship in a sense, to some degree, right? Whether I wasn't ready or not, maybe perhaps that's a different story. But it's just that, I guess that may vary depending what stage of life you're at. That's what it sounds like. Yeah, still.
It depends on the person too. Like you obviously didn't love her enough that you weren't feeling her enough, that you weren't really trying to be there for her. I mean, I'm not trying to say anything about you, Wong, per se, but like usually when you really are with somebody, like you love them, you're willing to like, have their back or like be there for them.
No, so I guess a little context. So we went through that phase together, right? And then it's just that it was like, I think a year later after that just didn't work out in general. But I'm just saying for that experience, so for me, one, it was a first time seeing someone to go through that situation of their life. But obviously, I was there, so I stuck it out with her and try to be there for her. But ultimately, for me though, it was like, okay, if that person is like this during that time in a sense, but for me, the way that that kind of reaction kind of drove me a little bit to the right in a sense, and so. It's just that I guess I did not know how to value that experience more, because now I look back into it, like I think, okay, that experience taught me a lot of things about myself. How should I react to certain things differently, and how could I have done probably different ways of approaching that, and then maybe that could have changed the course of that relationship. I don't know, right? So you learn and live and go a little bit, but you're right, and I may have but in terms of that. But that alone changes that attractiveness. I think that stage of life changes that attractiveness, because that pushes that kind of boundary in a sense. So I'm not so sure, like, obviously, for those who are married or in a long relationship, you guys go through up and down, right? And so how do you handle that, I guess, the downness and keep that level of attractiveness to bring it back up there? So.
I mean, you go through a lot of shit together.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know. I mean, that's like the point of being with someone that you really like love and trust, and like your friend. I mean, like you have Den's back. Like your homies. Like if Den were to go through something, you would like have his back. It's the same thing when you try to choose like a life partner. I'm talking about marriage terms. I mean, like dating is another ballgame. Yeah. You guys talk about dating, but like when you're married to somebody, you're in there together, and you go through a lot of shit together.
Yeah.
But it's also good too.
Like for example, Karen,
you also take into account like how they react to different situations,
right?
As a metric, because I've gone through relationships where the way that they handled problems just was not. It just didn't work out. We just clashed so hard on how, like she might be going through an issue, but then the way she dealt with it was blow up everything. And it just doesn't make sense, right? Like to me, it just didn't match to what I would have done, and then we would argue about it, and it was like it was bad that way too.
I think that's why it comes down to like having the same values and really figuring out when you're dating if you are compatible. Because like I don't know Porsha, but just even from how she talks about her relationship and your marriage, like it sounds like you guys have a really, really strong bond that it's taking you years to cultivate. But obviously, like you have that, you know, you had that attractiveness, you had that initial attraction. But I think that it seems like you guys both communicate really well and like understand each other really well to the point that you can be where you are now and like go through the ups and downs and like really ride it through. Like, you know that you're going to be there for each other no matter what. And I think like for us or people that are, you know, dating or going through the process, I think it's like the goal is to get to where you are and where Alissa is, you know, where like you guys are like so strong that you guys have been through it. You have a kid, which I agree. I don't have a kid, but I can just imagine. And I have seen my friends go through it, that it's like a complete shit show and it can be a make or break it point. But I think how you said, if you have that partner that you just really have just every compatibility on the list on attractiveness, communication, values, like, you know, there might be some things that you can work through, but I think as long as somebody's flexible, and I think an attractive quality, I think in dating is like, if somebody is going to put in the effort no matter what, because a lot of people give up very easily. And I think that is something that if it's society right now and it's, you know, like the online dating, like people think that other individuals are very easily disposable, and you see that they're not. And a lot of the people that stick through things, it's because they're willing to work things through. And
I think that level of effort you're talking about,
and that level of effort, like, you know, not being selfish, like not being like, I had a relationship with a narcissist and it was like the worst experience of my life. And like, you realize how being with somebody who's not selfish, like that to me, that's like one of the things that I look for now. I don't want anybody to be selfish. Like, I want to make sure that somebody's going to be willing to give and to put an effort, because like I have learned through experience.
And going back to that level of effort, right? So like, so Porsha, the example I was giving earlier is that I would have not reacted to the situation that she did in the past, the way she reacted. I would have done it differently. And I think that's what kind of turned me off a little bit in a sense, because the way that she handled her situation was very selfishly. And for me, that kind of pushed me away a little bit in terms of that. But also at the same time, given it, maybe, you know, I was not mature enough to be able to handle it also at the same time. But going back to, you know, Maria, what your point of thought is that it's hard to find somebody who's not selfish to a certain degree, because you have to be selfish to take care of yourself first, right? But you also at the same time, you have to be selfish, not enough where you also have to care about somebody else as well to put in the effort. And there's got to be a fine line between that, in a sense. Like, and I think walking that fine line, for me, I feel like that also comes from both sides. It's just not only from a guy perspective, but in terms of from a female perspective as well. Listen, I definitely for sure that plays a role in terms of attractiveness, because that shows how much, I guess, the playing cards, right? How much are you willing to put in there? Are you literally going all in? Are you putting only, you know, 50% effort in that? Because for a guy perspective, we can see that as well. And so obviously from the ladies' perspective, you can see that as well. So
yeah,
I agree with that. Like I've dated people that are just, I don't know. I found that like it's just like some people just aren't putting in the effort, and it feels like like I'm doing all of the work on like trying to keep it going. And I don't know how the girls how the girls like feel about it, but maybe like it from my perspective, it was the girls had too many guys that they were dealing with, and then they didn't care. Like they're just like, oh, you do all the work, and then and so like everything felt like it was on me to like get anything started. So I don't know if that
Not
was
all
just
girls
like
are like that. Not all
I don't know.
girls
I don't
are
know.
like that.
I don't know if that was the girl wasn't into me, or if it was just that's how this is the dating scene is.
Yeah, I wonder that a lot. Like, I wonder, like, sometimes I'll be talking to people about like my various relationships, and I'm like, I think my picker is wrong. Like, I think I'm picking the wrong people, you know. But yeah, it's a struggle, you know, and like you definitely have to feel it coming from both sides. It has to be like a mutual give and take for sure. Like throughout the relationship, not even just at the beginning, you know, like if I'm like communicating a need like to my partner, like something that I need, like I would hope that they would hear that and like do their best to meet that need, because I'd be willing to do the same. You know, it's a give and a take always.
Yeah, I actually think too that there's a really, you know, close correlation between your level of attractiveness and your level of effort, right? And if some party, like in your situation, you saw someone responding to something in a certain way, that kind of lowers your attraction. And it's not anything bad, that's just life. You start figuring out through the dating process and through seeing them in like different scenarios, how they respond to things, and then that, I don't know, it impacts how you see them, informs who you want to be with, and then it messes with your level of attractiveness. And that's why even in your duration of your relationship, attraction changes over time. And if you see effort decrease or increase, I think that's indicative of where you are attractive wise. And it's not like you're any less physically attractive, but you might be less emotionally attractive, or something is going on with one of your attraction types. So, and I think that's what you figure out through dating.
Yeah, exactly what I was just gonna say. Like that's what you learn about yourself when you're dating people.
But listen, there's some people who just dated one person their whole entire life. They got married, have kids. I know a couple of people like that. You know,
bravo!
Wow!
And it happened.
You got it all in the first shot. Like,
you had a good pick. That's amazing.
Yeah.
You don't have to go through all the bullshit.
Exactly.
And it happens. You know what I mean? And I think also, because it's part of it, maybe I wonder, does it have to do about yourself first, like knowing yourself first enough to do that, to know what you want? I think that's probably part of it. But also at the same time, maybe, you know, like obviously there's variables, right? Your locations, then your circle of friends, and what school you work, you know. But okay, so hang on a second, guys. I think there's some audio problem. We're gonna take a little break first before we continue this conversation. Hang on. Robert, you wanna take a break right now?
Yeah, let's take a break.
Hey everyone, well, hopefully you enjoyed this part 1 episode. Tune in next week for part 2. And don't forget to hit the like button and subscribe to our channel.
Leave us any comments you need. Peace.
See ya.
All right.
Thanks for joining us for this episode of the Gluten-Free Organic Thoughts podcast. As always, we appreciate you. If you are watching us on YouTube, please don't forget to subscribe to our channel, like this episode, and leave us a comment. If you are listening to us, please leave us your honest review on your preferred podcast listening platform. And as always, you can find us on social media at Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter at GFOT Thoughts. Drop a comment and give us some feedback. We would love to hear from you. Until next time, see you then.